Hello, it's Monday, October 14th, 2024. And I can't believe it. We're actually going to start to work on the bus again. Got done working on the kitchen in the house, finally. Got through a Hurricane Milton. We still haven't cleaned up the yard and all that stuff. And the garage is a mess. But we're going to start cleaning up the garage. And I'm going to pull the bus up closer to the garage here. We need to fix three things that's on my mind right now. The air conditioning is messed up. It's the chassis air conditioner is messed up. It messed up on us last year and I never got around to fixing it yet. And I got to fix this rotten wood problem down here, which I kind of got started fixing and ran out of time and ambition. And I got some messed up paint. When I painted this thing, I don't know, something got under the paint here. This is where there were reflective stickers that ran across here. And I treated it with Ospo. And I don't know what happened here, but I need to fix this rust. It goes all the way back to here. Oh, it's even back here now. It wasn't this far before. And I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do to fix that. I don't know. That might be the last thing I work on. But first thing we got to do is we got to get this thing mobile. We're going to move our step, take off our little wheel covers here, get it up here where I can crawl underneath. The access ports to the air conditioner are underneath, which kind of sucks, but that was the only thing I could make work when I put this thing together. We're going to get the vacuum pump on there, or the recovery pump, I should say. We're going to capture all the Freon refrigerant that's left in the system. I think I know what's wrong with it. I think it's the filter dryer is plugged, because we had excessively high pressures on the high side and the compressor was making noise. So hopefully that's all it is, and I don't have to take apart the whole darn system and flush it out and stuff. Okay, so we're going to start with connecting our gauges and see if there actually is any refrigerant left in the system. I hadn't had leaks. God, this thing is stuck on there. Man. Alright. That's the high side. I remember when I set this up, I did it with these facing up vertical, like this, up ways, which is not the easiest way to access, but it won't collect water in the edge of the cap. Now the low side. Man, I've never had these things so stuck on there. I heard a little bit of a leak, but I loosened that one. So that Schrader valve probably needs to be replaced. Let's do the spit check. I'm not seeing any bubbles, so it's minor. Alright, let's wipe this thing off. Well, the fact that I heard a little bit of pressure is good, because there's a bunch of refrigerant in this system, and it can get expensive. Let's see if we can see what we got going on here. That's the low side. Oopsie. All right. So let's make sure all of our hoses are tight on here. 1, 2, 3, closed and closed. Look at that, we still have some pressure from the last time I used it. That's a good sign that the gauges are in good shape. Now let's tighten our little all right, look at that. So I'm gonna purge from the low side because I'm pretty sure, if memory serves me correct, there'll be less chance of oil being in the low side than the high side. Ugh. All right, let's get the equipment out. All right, I got some real antique equipment here, but it's always worked well for me. So this is our recovery system. It's not even made for our 134, but I just changed the oil in the compressor to 134 compatible oil. Every time I use this thing, I got to read the instructions. I mean, I know the basic operation, but there's some pressure limits you have to monitor. This thing is not an automatic, it's kind of semi-automatic. So I've got a propane tank here that I've repurposed from my refrigerant capturing device. It has its own safety relief valve that's made for this tank, so I'm comfortable with that and always have been. This has been with me for many years. We're going to open our low side a little bit. We're going to purge out the entire system. We've got this venting here slightly. And that's probably adequate right there because this has all been capped off. I only use this for 134. All right. So I'm going to shut this valve, open this valve, and this will tell me what I have at tank pressure. It's 100 psi in the tank. And geez, it can't go much higher than that for this high pressure cutout thing. How much do we have? We only got about 90 something in the bus. All right, so here we go. System on with the fan on. I'm gonna open the bypass. And that's gonna start drawing. Oops, dang it. I was supposed to leave that open. So this thing tripped on high current. Let's do that again. All right, everything's open. Still tripping on high current. I don't remember how to work the darn thing. It's right now, it's flowing from my tank into the system. This is inlet, okay. Let's try shutting this off. See if we can pull some vacuum. See, with this bypass open, it's supposed to limit pressure. All right, let's see. There we go. Maybe it was just flowing too quick or something, I don't know. But we're drawing on our low side right now. I think the problem is my high side's too high. There might be some air in this. But it's flowing now. Let's let that run a little bit. And then once we cease to see any movement, we can start to close this bypass valve. This just lets the high side leak to the low side in this system here. Another thing, yeah, this thing could have been bound up with oil from sitting. Maybe that's why it was tripping out. Okay, the pressure's going up slightly here, just a little bit over 100. This will get warm. Not yet though. Okay, so we're open here. Okay, so we can close this a little bit, the bypass. You can hear it change too. It starts to work a little harder. Okay, now it's pumping all it can. Oh, look at the low side going down. And now we're up to 120 here. Just the tiniest bit warmer than it was a little while ago. It's warm on this side because it's in the sun. Nothing's warm there. All right, let's let that run a while. We've reached a plateau here. We're at about 7 psi in the bus. And it's going really slow right now. We don't want to get down to a vacuum, because if there's any leaks anywhere in my manifold set, you know, this thing is 30 years old, or more than the 30 years old actually. Any leaks will allow air in, and we're not wanting to have any air added to our tank, which we can purge later. But so we're 130 psi. It's fairly warm. This part in the sun is hotter than anything, but it's warm. I've experimented by shutting off the tank valve, and this pressure doesn't rise hardly at all. I mean, just it creeps up really slow, which means there's hardly any flow right now. We're just getting the last remnants. I'm going to give this a little bit longer. I don't want to go below 5 psi, just to make sure that we still have positive pressure and everything. And then we're going to shut our valves, shut off our recovery system. And I kind of messed up. I should have weighed the tank before I got started, just to see as a baseline how much refrigerant we've taken out. There's quite a bit in there. It was empty when I started, but now there's quite a bit of liquid. Just by shaking the can, I could tell. Well, I was hoping it was going to be my high side inline filter was plugged, because the dry wet thing has shown it to be wet for quite some time, and I can blow right through it. So I would suspect that liquid refrigerant would go through that. So I really haven't gotten much done so far. I removed this solenoid valve. There's two of them. One here and one there. Now I know that blocks off the refrigerant flow to the dashboard air conditioner, or throttles it somehow. Not really sure what I guess, yeah, this one does the same function, but it goes to where the filter dryer was, which is kind of strange. I don't know why we would even have a solenoid valve. So let's see, let me follow these lines. We got the high side is coming from the compressor here, goes to the condenser, comes out of the condenser. After the condenser, it goes to the inline filter. After the filter, it goes to this line. So this is, okay, yeah, this one's got a T in it. So this is the high pressure line after the filter. One side goes to the forward air conditioner, and one side goes to the air conditioner that's on the ceiling of the bus behind the driver's head. So these solenoid valves determine which evaporator is getting flow, which is interesting because the dashboard air conditioner, I think, always gets flow. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about that. So we're going to blow air through all these and make sure these lines are not plugged or full of crud. I mean, they look clean on the inside from what I could see. I've got this low side accumulator that I just unbolted here, and I wanted to look inside and make sure that it's just an empty cylinder and it's an accumulator, but I can't get these damn lines off. I mean, it's pretty heavy. I don't know. I'm gonna see if I can get some good imagery of the label here to get the number and the manufacturer before I mess with it in case I ruin it. Looks like, what is that, 6562100 4-00 accumulator. Yeah, once you wipe it, I might wipe the letters right off of it. So I wanted to get some imagery here before I wipe the dirt off. And there's really nothing else down here. On the condenser, I'm going to blow through that, make sure it's not plugged. I don't think you could even plug a condenser, but, and blow through these lines. Then we're going to disconnect the compressor at the top to blow through the lines, and I'll disconnect all the fittings at the evaporator that's on the firewall, and then we're going to go in the bus and disconnect the lines at the evaporator unit that's inside there on the ceiling, and just make sure that all these lines are clear. Make sure that my expansion valves don't have any crud in them, and well, I haven't gotten a real good look yet, but I think this is just an empty cylinder with baffles inside, and so far we've got probably more than 12 ounces of oil. I was able to measure up to 8 ounces with this measuring cup, but there's still some left in my little metal can here, and it's kind of dirty. I don't know how bad that is because the dirt would just lay at the bottom, I would think. I was shining my light down in there to see if I could see. It doesn't look like there's anything in there but tubes and baffles. There's no desiccant. So what I'm going to do, I consider that fully empty now. I can go ahead and dump this, and then we'll measure this to know how much oil was in that. Kind of a lot of oil, isn't it? I've got the book on this thing. I'm going to completely drain and flush the whole system out. And we'll start with a fresh batch of oil with the right quantity, just to make sure that we don't have too much oil in here. Maybe it was having trouble with the oil. I don't know. I don't think that would make the high side high. I think too much oil drives the low side extra low. So that's metal. There's dirt and metal in here. I've got a magnet I'm holding with my pinky down there. A lot of that is metal fragments. See how now it's moving when I took the magnet away. So we're at about a total of 12 ounces of oil just from the accumulator. And I bet you there's about 6 or so in the compressor. I don't know what the spec is yet, but we're going to find out. Yeah, just about all that trash down there is metal fragments. All right, I got an old can of this super cool flush, and I put some in here thinking maybe I could flush this thing out, but it's just too full of trash. Whoopsie. Yeah, we're just gonna have to buy a new one. I took a trip to the Discount Auto Parts, and they had this kit, probably the same one I bought last time. And it's got all the seals I need to put the dashboard expansion valve back in place on the evaporator. I've already flushed the evaporator. I've got this really nice little flush kit that I've had for a lifetime, and actually this is the first time I've ever used it. It still has a cellophane wrapper on the handle here. You just put your liquid flush in the cylinder, and I used R134 to pressurize it so we weren't putting any moisture in. And I can't really show you right now because I already put the radiator reservoir back in place, but the I guess I can show you. Right back in there, the 2 red caps are on the evaporator tubes, and I've already flushed that out, and came out clean. Maybe a little trash, but I didn't see it. But I'm all out of the flush. Where's that can at anyway? Did I already throw it away? Yeah, here it is. Good stuff. Smells like oranges. But I'm all out, and Discount Auto Parts, nor Napa even know what that is. They'll be glad to sell you that aerosol can for like freaking ridiculous price for like 18 ounces. You can get that stuff on Amazon for $47 a gallon. There's an AC place. I'll take a trip tomorrow near here. I might be able to get a deal on it better than that. So the compressor, I might be buying a new one of these. I bought a seal kit for this. Where did I leave that darn seal kit at anyway? Is it right over here someplace? I don't know. It's around. I just saw it recently. But I hope I don't have to buy a new compressor, because they're hundreds of dollars for these things. And I'm already looking at 80 or 100 bucks for that accumulator. And we already spent 20 bucks on the seals. So we're going to give this a shot to take it apart. I'm pretty sure you got to take the clutch off and all that good stuff first. I don't have the proper tool to hold this, but I've got this thing that I've used a multitude of times for different holding tools. And this just happens to fit in 2 of the holes, just the way it was sitting on in the corner over there. So I'm going to see if this will work. Otherwise, we'll put an impact on it, I guess. But I wanted to treat it with some kind of respect. And we're going to take this thing apart, see what we see, if anything looks amiss, probably rust. I think rust is my problem with this AC unit, because I've known that it had moisture in it, but I just was too lazy to do anything about it. And I think all that trash that I was saying was metal in the measuring cup, I think that was rust flakes, not grindings like the compressor being bad. Because the compressor feels nice and smooth. No looseness in it. It spins perfect. So let's see what we can find, man. So far so good. We just happen to have the right puller kit for pulling the clutch off. It screws down in this hole and pulls this piece off. And this guy's got a snap ring in front of it. This big old guy here. And I happen to have those. And I happen to have a puller. I mean, we're just getting lucky here that these tools are falling into place. And I pulled this off. That came off easy. And there's a snap ring that holds this coil in place. And that's down in the hole here. And luckily these were long enough to get in there and came right off. So this looks pretty rough. It wasn't leaking, to my knowledge. But it sure does look like it's long in the tooth, doesn't it? I don't think that comes off of there. I think everything comes out of the back. All right. Yeah, it's rusty. I don't know if I'm going to be able to save this thing, man. Well, let's see if we can get this plate off. This is the end of the shaft here. It's got a flat on it, and it runs this cute little oil pump down here. I guess that's the pickup right there. You know what, I was gonna say I better orient this thing and put a witness mark, but I could see that these are not equally spaced. This will only go on one way. That's a good thing. You know, it doesn't look that bad. The valves look like they're in perfectly good condition. I mean, the pump looks good. There's a little bit of trash in it. There's a little bit of rust on these piston heads. But, I mean, if you look at the swash plate in there, I mean, it's smooth. The bores look good. I'm gonna clean this thing up best I can, and if I've got the right seal kit, I guess I should check that first. If I've got the right seal kit for this thing, we're gonna put it back together, because you know, it was pumping. We had excessively high pressure, so you know, that tells you that the pump was doing its thing. I suspect, because everything's looking pretty good in this air conditioning system so far, the expansion valve was almost completely clean. I mean, it had a couple little specks of crud on it. I mean, I've already cleaned this up. So, I mean, if that's working, you're not going to have excessively high pressure. I suspect that one or both of these things may be the problem. I do remember this is the one that's on the driver's side of the vehicle. with the extra undercoating all over it. I remember seeing this thing having ice on it, and I've never noticed that before, and that tells me that there was a pressure drop occurring, like maybe this thing wasn't fully open or something. I'm not completely sure that those things are supposed to show ice on them or get cold. I mean, we're going to have to get that flush and flush out, make sure that the condenser isn't plugged and there's no plugged lines or anything. I think we're on the right track. Okay, I'm calling it for the night. I got to clean up a little bit yet and get rid of these fluids so we don't have a bunch of stink in the house. It's a bunch of brake clean, and I was using gasoline too. Brake clean and gasoline, neither one of them did a real good job of cutting the PAG oil. I guess if I would have had some of that Mr. Cool stuff, that would have been best. But, you know, just a lot of manual labor. I've got it clean enough to put back together. Here's the seal kit. It looks like it's the right stuff. I think I got this on Amazon. Anyway, so here's all the valve plates all cleaned up. I mean, the rust stains are still there, but there's no crud in this anymore. It's all clean. And here's all my little parts. And the back plate is clean. And the rotor is completely clean now. So, with a little good luck, tomorrow I'll be able to put this thing together. I need to get some more PAG oil. I only got a little bit in a small bottle, this little bottle, that does not have dye in it. Everything else I have has got dye in it, and I don't want to be getting dye all over the thing. I'll think I've got a leak. All right, man.